It's been almost a year since Ghost Recon Breakpoint was released. Back when the game dropped in October of 2019, it was received very poorly by critics and the community. Failing to deliver on its promised vision, Ubisoft Paris pledged to get right back to work and begin attempting to bring the game up to the standard that players expected. 9 months and many updates later, Breakpoint is now finally starting to feel like the game that was shown off in the original reveal trailer. Improved gunsmith options, deeply enhanced and customizable difficulty settings, and perhaps the most anticipated of all, AI teammates now breathe new life into the game. So I set off to find out if it's truly worth revisiting Ghost Recon Breakpoint. My journey begins right where my last one ended. I loaded up the same character I used in my previous Breakpoint video and entered Era 1. I'd recommend going back and watching that one if you haven't already, since I would be using pretty much the same setup with a few minor changes, such as re-enabling my crosshair and temporarily bumping the difficulty down to advanced. But this time, I could take advantage of the expanded options to balance it out. Now, bandages were limited, health regeneration was partial, and most importantly, gear score was gone. No more enemy levels in restricted areas. Now I could equip any weapon I wanted to and not have to worry about whether it was powerful enough. However, the real focus of day one would be the new AI teammates. I spent a little bit of time customizing them, then set off on my first mission. I had already rescued Paula Madera last time, but now I needed to find her missing husband to convince her to join our cause. I hopped into a helicopter and began my scenic flight to Aroa Hospital. I equipped my binoculars and began scouting. In addition to a few snipers patrolling on the rooftops, there was also another side mission present inside the hospital that required me to kill 2 specific Sentinel soldiers, so I figured I might want to go after them too if I get the chance. I snuck down the side of the cliff face and began my infiltration while my teammates followed closely behind. I entered the building and shot 2 Sentinel guards, but some other guys on the floor above heard the shots.
Get on, you ghost lead.
I removed my suppressor and got ready for a fight.
Let's go!
One of my guys got down, so I began to flank around the front of the building and come back to get him up.
Enemy down.
sustained some pretty heavy injuries while reviving, but took out the hostiles just in time. Shortly after, I got a little cocky and ended up going down myself. Previously, this would have been an instant game over, but now with AI teammates, they can revive you once per fight. So I got back up and continued onward. I found some intel, then went upstairs to finish that side mission, but it seemed my team had already done the hard part. Some more intel indicated that Paula's husband was being held in the Eternity Center, just north of the hospital, so I began my exfiltration. The enemies had lost sight of us, but on the way out a sniper opened fire.
You heard, Ghost Lead. You need to stay low.
I flanked the turret that had been suppressing me and took it out. Found a couple of motorcycles a little ways out from the hospital that would make for some excellent transport. But I was running a bit low on ammo, so I stopped at a bivouac along the way to resupply. It was nice to finally feel like part of a team. After a bit of crafting, I decided to spend the night at this camp, and progress time to morning. I arrived at the Eternity Center and began my scouting. There were quite a few sentinel guards patrolling around the front of the compound. I moved in closer and decided this was a good time to try out the sync shot feature, which allows you and your teammates to simultaneously kill 4 enemies silently. You might remember me complaining in the last video that since I had enemy tagging turned off, I couldn't tell which enemies had intel. This was no longer an issue, since now, even with tagging disabled, intel indicators are still always displayed. This intel ended up being for an unrelated side mission, but this was still a good feature to know about. I made a quick stop at the parking lot to clear it out before heading back up to the main facility.
That's the stuff.
There was a drone testing site nearby that provided me with a little extra incentive to stay stealthy. Intel I gained from a laptop in the lobby told me Madera's husband was located in the basement. I made my way through, but only found a single guard along the way. I located the target in a cryostasis pod. With that information, I left the facility to return to Madera and let her know what I found. To talk to Madera, I had to reach South Cape Station, which is located on an isolated island. Since I was prohibiting myself from using fast travel, and I didn't exactly feel like swimming, I decided to take a trip to the airport just south of Liberty City. I kept it as quiet as possible on the way in, dropping some guards and acquiring a bit of loot. I made use of sync shot again to have my team help me dispatch some targets. I then planted some C4 in a turret just in case things went loud. One more sync shot and I was ready to cross the airfield. I detonated the turret to get it out of the way and was about to hop into a plane when a sniper I missed in my scouting began firing on me. There were still more targets than I expected around the airport, so I made my way around to kill him to ensure they wouldn't interfere with my takeoff.
Clean head, boss. Stay focused.
Excellent work.
We got trouble.
I destroyed the generator just in case there were more turrets left, and made a break for the plane. After arriving at the island, I realized there wasn't exactly any terrain suitable for landing a Cessna, so I bailed out knowing there was a helicopter on the ground I could use to leave. I told Madeira everything she needed to know, then headed out in the chopper. Now I needed to go speak to her old annoying friend Daigoro. Daigoro needed me to find intel in a Sentinel checkpoint. Anyone would do. So I picked the closest and drove over in a cargo truck. Had a bit of a gunfight, but it was nothing my team and I couldn't handle. A little bit of C4 did the trick on one particularly elusive soldier. I found the intel, and it directed me to an outcast hideout, so I stole an armed Sentinel vehicle and set off. It really was a different experience having teammates. It felt way more immersive having guys to shoot back at all the enemies I constantly found myself driving past. I went up the side of a hill to get a decent vantage point on the building. But while scouting, noticed a pretty significant issue. I'm not sure what caused this, but I couldn't mark enemies for sync shot. Instead, it would just send out a ping. So that meant my teammates were basically useless for stealth, at least for now. I started dropping targets as quickly as I could. I made it inside and found plans for what looked like a bomb made out of Madeira's energy cells. I killed a few more stragglers on the way out and stole another armed vehicle. After a quick chat with Daigoro, he now needed me to steal a supply truck from Sentinel, and I think it's fair to say this didn't exactly go as planned. After that shit show, I healed myself up and hopped into another car with my team and went into pursuit. I needed to make sure I didn't blow the truck up, so I commanded my team to cease fire and tried to ram it off the road. I then pulled in front and had my team engaged to try and shoot the driver out, and we managed to get him to stop. Despite being a success, this mission was a complete disaster, but at the same time, I can't deny that it was incredibly fun. So with that, day one was complete. I had already spent plenty of time in-game playing through the campaign missions, so even with teammates, it could still get a little repetitive. But those weren't really the missions I was interested in. Day one was mainly just a bit of practice with the new AI teammates to prepare me for the Resistance event. Day 2 would be all about the Resistance Live event. This event is running from July 16th to the 29th. It allows players to complete unique missions with Outcast Rebel support. And while there are aesthetic rewards to be gained, those didn't really interest me. What I really wanted to see was how these missions played out. So I began with the one that looked like the most fun, a Sentinel base assault. I landed nearby and talked to the Outcast scout who informed me I would be sent in first. Once things went loud, Rebel backup would enter and begin the assault. I found a decent position and decided to start it off with a bang. I then commanded my team to enter the base alongside the Outcasts, while I provided support and suppressed Sentinel soldiers below. Once it was clear enough, I moved up to regroup with my team. Everything was in total chaos as I entered. Enemies were all around us. The scale of this battle was unlike anything I had experienced in Breakpoint before, and was a fantastic breath of fresh air. Having not only AI teammates, but also a squad of rebels on my side really did bring a new dynamic to combat. But it wasn't over. After killing all the soldiers in the base, enemy reinforcements were inbound. A team of rebels drove out in an armed car, and my team and I prepared to fight at the entrance to the base. Made short work of an arriving helicopter with my rocket launcher. Enemy reinforcements had surrounded us from all sides, so I frequently had to move from one end of the compound to the other to keep them from pushing up on us. Not only was there a ton of gunfire between the outcasts and Sentinel, but the high-density foliage in the area made it even harder to tell what was going on, further adding to the chaos. After engaging some contacts in the rear of the base, I returned to the front to fight another squad that had just arrived. I then pushed forward to engage a passing vehicle and another patrol that admittedly were most likely unrelated to the mission at hand, but they were close enough to warrant a takedown. After returning to the captured Sentinel base, the mission was complete. Next up was a convoy ambush. I wasn't really sure what to expect with this one. You can already find convoys around the island, but they spawn randomly, the same as enemy patrols. You can't really plan ahead for them like you could back in Wildlands, but I figured this may prove to be more interesting. So I arrived at the location and spoke with the outcast scout. Then I began preparations. I heard some gunfire uncomfortably close and was debating checking it out first, but then suddenly realized the convoy was already arriving before I had even begun planting explosives. I definitely expected to have a little more time to prepare, but there was no countdown timer and the convoy showed up in less than a minute. So I blew the charges and opened up on them, but two of the trucks got away. I made a run for the outcast vehicle to pursue, but it had already counted as a failure. This mission was definitely a major disappointment compared to the last one. It provided zero intel on how many enemy vehicles would arrive, what direction they would come from, and even how long I had to prepare. So now that I knew what was coming, the second attempt was a breeze, much easier than I would have liked. But there was still one more mission type to experience, so I took a pit stop at Erewhon to grab a helicopter, then flew east to an island where Sentinel was holding 4 outcasts prisoner. I landed on the outskirts of the island and eliminated a sniper on the watchtower, then moved in killing a few more guards along the way. I found the first prisoner and we moved out. 3 to go. I found another captive outside of a bunker and used sync shot to kill the guys watching him. The bunker seemed like a decent place to store the 2 prisoners I had rescued so far while I searched for the rest. I reached the 3rd one and moved her to the bunker. The 4th wasn't hard to find. He was being held out in the open near the compound's generator. One more sync shot and I was clear to move up. I planted C4 on the generator as a plan B and freed the prisoner.
I'm here to get you to safety.
I rounded up all 4 and brought them to a scout who was waiting on the edge of the island with a helicopter. And just like that, I was done. It was some pretty enjoyable stealthing, but nothing I hadn't experienced before. so before calling it quits, I wanted to try out one last base assault mission. I had no intention of playing this one quietly, so I decided to up my firepower and grab myself an LMG. All geared up and ready to go, I left camp and moved to secure a nearby helicopter for transport. I parachuted down and talked to the scout. Things would work the same as the first mission. As soon as things go loud, they'll provide backup. I quietly took out a sniper and disabled a mortar turret, then did a quick recon of the base. When I was ready to go, I opened up. What this LMG lacked in accuracy, it more than made up for in pure damage output. I sent my team in with the outcasts as I provided overwatch from on top of a hill. This vantage point was too good to give up right away. Eventually, I moved in to participate with the main assault. All enemies in the base were eliminated. Then, just like last time, reinforcements were inbound. I stood guard at the main entrance to the base, but was surprised to see they assaulted from the opposite end. Then, finally, we found the last Sentinel soldier and took him out. I was incredibly satisfied. This is the kind of gameplay that had been missing from Breakpoint. In all my hundreds of hours spent playing this game, I don't think I've ever had more fun than I did assaulting this compound with my AI teammates and a whole squad of rebels. That was where I'd call it for day 2. Even though I was done recording footage, I definitely looked forward to playing the rest of these missions. Almost a year later, and Breakpoint really has made significant progress. Ubisoft is actually delivering on their promises with these updates, bringing anticipated features and new content. But in the end, that doesn't really change the fact that this is how the game should have launched. But either way, I'm now fully confident in this game's future. Even though I do still think it has fundamental flaws, such as a forgettable story, awful dialogue, and a setting that makes little sense, I believe that if Ubisoft Paris keeps up momentum with these updates, they really can achieve something great. The Resistance Live event, despite the convoy ambush missions being very disappointing, feels like it brought some of the best parts of Wildlands back into Breakpoint. The world suddenly feels so much more alive than it used to. I just hope that some of these features stick around after the event ends. And now with AI teammates and a deeper focus on realism, the game is beginning to become a little more in touch with its tactical roots. It'll most likely take an entirely new game to truly restore the franchise to its former glory, especially since most of the gaming community doesn't exactly forgive so easily. But still, I'm glad I stuck with this game, and I do look forward to its future.